Hey ho hey, guten Morgen, good morning. Trying to start today with what Dr. Eric Berg of YouTube recommends. Das ist ein Glas of water mit dem Lemon Juice und die Apple Cider. Because I'm taking anti-acid medications, PPI, proton prohibition inhibitor, or whatever that stands for, anti-acid. My body cannot absorb vitamins, especially iron, so I have a huge iron deficiency. So Dr. Eric Berg says this is good to begin the morning with, and of course I have to start the morning with a cup of coffee. Who do I want to kiss more? The guy who invented the internet or the guy who invented coffee? What do you think? I think the guy who invented coffee. So what should we watch today? How about this girl, Ewa Zubek. Ewa oder Zubek. Mike Force podcast. Do you know that I didn't even know what podcasts were? I mean, what am I, living in the moon or something? Just a few days ago I discovered podcasts, and that it was actually something you subscribe to, I guess on iTunes or Apple Music, I have no idea. But that they also have the video versions of the podcasts, so I found those very interesting to watch. Of course, not as interesting video-wise like Casey Neistat's videos, where there's a lot of B-rolls, super cool music, or like what Matty does. Matty, his last name is Hayopa or something. But the content is very interesting, you know, because it's long form content, and it's like you're part of some interview or something. So let's watch that, see what happens. Ewa Zubek, by the way, I discovered a few days ago as well. She's a vlogger and traveler, and she has converted a van, which is something I have in mind as well. I don't know if I will be able to, but there are birds I would love to show you though, but they're gone. Anyway, she has converted a van, lives with a small dog. Let's see what happens.
Okay. These mics are so good, I just want to breathe in them. It's ASMR. Oh. So you have an ASMR, I mean, you don't have an ASMR channel, the Unplugged channel. What's the new Unplugged thing that you're doing?
Right, so
for example, do you see from the first 25 seconds, look at the tone of the interviewer, whose name is Mike Force, I guess. This is the first time I see his podcast. But YouTube, the artificial intelligence has showed this to me in my recommended feed, because I watched a few videos of Ewa, like this one. Ewa Zubek. She is, I believe, Polish, but I think she lives in Germany. I don't know, or if her one parent is Polish, the other one is Austrian or German or something. I don't know, but she has a wonderful British accent as well, which I love, and she's so beautiful. Of course, that helps when you see a video. That's probably why my videos are not being watched by anyone, because I look like this. But the way she talks, she has such a charisma. This is something you cannot learn. You can watch, look at this video, starting advice for starting a successful YouTube channel. with Catherine Manning and the other girl I know as well. Forget her name, but Catherine has an incredible charisma too. The other girl, not so much. And Eva also has it. This is something you cannot learn. You either have it or you don't. And I don't think I do, because it's a screen presence, it's a charisma, it's a video magic, you know. It's like je ne sais quoi, as the French says. It means I don't know what, but it's you can't put your hand on it, but when you watch it, you feel it. Even Casey didn't have it like they do, like Catherine and like Eva. Look at her speaking. I don't know how she will speak here, but we'll see.
I've noticed that, all the travel content, the adventure content that I make is great and people love it. I love it. But I've realized that whenever I post stuff that's a bit more about life, navigating some of life's big questions, people just really relate to it.
Yeah, I love those kind of topics as well. Navigating life's big questions. Navigating, what a beautiful word to put in that sentence. Navigating life's big questions. A lot of people relate to it, yes. Because there are so many van life channels, there are so many travel channels. But a travel channel who also talks about navigating life's big questions, like what makes us happy, why don't we really take care of our health until we really need to. Those are topics which really resonates with people, and they can also see the van life but also talk about those topics. So I wish I could do that one day too.
And so I thought that I'd love to create a new YouTube channel which has content that's less about travel and the kind of lifestyle and more about that. So navigating life, basically. Where I'll make videos that talk about some of the things that we might find taboo or controversial or difficult, and hopefully guide people.
Oh, I didn't know this. I guess she's going to create a new channel where she will talk more philosophy, more in-depth topics. See, that's interesting. A lot of people, when they create other channels, when they want to talk about other topics, they are pretty much forced to create separate channels, which is harder to maintain and to grow from zero. But this is forced by the YouTube algorithm and AI. I'm talking about you, YouTube AI. I know, I am listening to you. You are correct. I can only categorize one channel with one keywords, one specific target audience. So if you want to talk about many things like you silly humans do, you have to open different channels. And also, of course, the advertisers, right? If they're going to put ads in it, their media department wants to know, hey, if I'm spending that much money, what is this channel about? Is it about finance? Is it about travel? Is it about van life? Is it about philosophy? Is it about productivity? If you're about philosophy, you're pretty much fucked because nobody will want to advertise on you. So that's why people are forced to do different channels. Yeah, something to think about.
So for example, I don't want to have kids, and I've never wanted to have kids.
Me too.
And that's something that I really struggled with throughout my life because it's something that nobody ever really understood, and a lot of people didn't take me seriously, and I felt like I was the only person in the entire world.
No, you're not, Eva. I'm like you as well. I'm 50 years old. You're only 30 years old. So I'm 20 years old older than you. And I never wanted to have kids either. I love animals, but kids really not so much, I'm sorry to say. So I guess some people just don't want it. We don't all have to want it,
That way. Turns out I'm not the only one. So I want to be making videos for people who may struggle with some of their choices. Like the first video on the channel will be about being child-free, why it's not such a weird or unusual thing. It'll be about, things like why I'm boycotting the makeup industry, why the four walls that we live in.
boycotting the makeup industry is also cool, but it also means she will never get sponsored by a beauty product. But she could actually get a sponsorship from a healthy, for example, vitamin-based self-cleaning solution company. All natural, all organic. So maybe that's clever to do.
Us all these kinds of tricky subjects that we don't.
And look at her, when she smiles, it's like the world smiles, her eyes are smiling, and she has such beautiful hazel color eyes to die for. I mean, you just wanna spend time and just look at her when she's smiling, and she has such a beautiful energy. It's just amazing, amazing, amazing.
Very often.
I love that. I mean, there's not enough attention paid on those type of issues and kind of navigating the complexities,
Totally.
right? So asking the question and then entertaining some different resolution versus what the national media is telling you or what the Kim Kardashian is telling you, right?
Exactly.
We're taking our cues from the wrong people, I think.
Yeah.
And that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the whole goal is to just help people feel less alone. Like there is a community out there for everyone. And so that's the goal of the channel.
I love it. And it comes out, this is going to be on.
Again, she smells, she probably smells very good too. Even though she says she doesn't shower very much. But she smells so good. The other guy, he's just like me. He's nothing special, he's like my uncle. I mean, he just talks and he's just normal, But Ewa, she has this energy.
YouTube, but a different channel.
That's it.
Completely different channel.
Yeah, so I'm just giving myself a lot of extra work.
Yes, it sounds like it because I know it's
Oh,
I know it's
smiling.
taxing already
Oh,
as somebody
smiling.
who
Look at
does
you.
this. I see
Look at
when I
puppy.
see you and I have the
Beautiful
context of
dog.
understanding how much hard work it takes to do that. I'm thinking, how can this woman live any of this if she's spending a lot of time, doing the video component of it, which is a lot of work. How do you balance that? How have you figured to navigate that?
Yeah, I think it's very, very common for people to kind of watch YouTube videos and see creators living great lives, and it all looks so easy and effortless, but it's not. There's so much work that goes into everything,
This is something I did not know until a few weeks ago. I thought, just like she says, that it was so easy to just travel and do your vlogs and everything. But if you want to really come up with quality content, not like the shit that I'm doing here, but some serious, really good thought about content, you have to write at least your outline, you have to come up with a content calendar. You have to really film a good video, think about lighting, think about the voice levels on your microphone, and then you have to have good edits. So all these things takes days and days and days. And now she's going to open a separate channel, but I will of course subscribe because I love her. But we'll see how she juggles that. Ewa, by the way, if I can help you in any way, let me know, because you have such incredibly beautiful aura, I would love to help you.
YouTube, filming.
She'll be like, you don't know anything, how can you help me? You don't know anything yourself.
For Instagram, for TikTok, for Facebook, Instagram stories, editing, answering business emails, figuring out partnerships, finding your way, planning your route, planning your life. Like, where are you going to stay? Are you going to stay at a campsite, in a hotel?
Wow.
Having space for hobbies or like even basic things like exercise.
Yeah.
Exercise? What is it? I don't
24/7
know.
job for sure. So it's not easy, and I don't think I quite realize.
Another reason why I'm in love with her is because she exercises, she runs constantly like Casey Neistat did. I admire and love people who put exercise in their life. In my 50 years of surviving on this earth, I probably exercised regularly. Maybe when I was in Colorado, in University of Colorado at Boulder for 2 years. In New York City, I did not exercise. I was a couch potato like I am now. But I admire them so much, so much, so much. If someday I can start exercising, I would be so happy.
so crazy when I first got into it. But you know, it's something that if you do it and if you continue doing it past that initial shock stage, then you just love it. It becomes your life. So this is my life.
Also, you're 30 years old and you exercise, you're extremely fit. Like Casey, when you're young and fit, you can do those things much better than when you're 50 years old and you're inactive, a couch potato like me.
I'm so thankful that I get to live so freely. So, okay, it's a lot of work, but, you know, I can do whatever I want at the end of the day.
I'm curious, just these are personal curiosities, which I think the audience might be curious to as well. Like, why are you doing this? Like, what is the reason? I'm interested in like what drives you, because you know, you have had an amazing life doing the travel and everything else, but what is it that gets you up every morning and allows you to do this?
I feel alive. It's as simple as that. So before I started doing YouTube 4.5 years ago, I had a very different life. So, you know, I kind of went to university, did like the traditional kind of conventional route. I call it like the highway of life, where you just kind of go from, you know, school to college to a job in the city. You do all the things that everyone else does. And so, you know, I got a great job at a startup in London. I was making good money working as a manager, you know, going out to the nice restaurants, hanging out with friends, living in the city.
I want to know about her life, where she grew up, which university did she go to? Did she study in London, in England? Because she has such beautiful accent. Like, I just want to know more about her, and she doesn't share that information. I'm so curious.
Married.
Oh, she got married and divorced, I guess, because now she has a new boyfriend.
It was all kind of like my path to success was in my mind at the time, like, okay, well, get the next promotion, you know, get the next raise, you know, get an apartment, like the marriage thing, you know, all these things. But eventually I started realizing that, okay, I'm going through all these motions, but what am I getting out of it? I'm like, I feel so empty. It's like, am I doing something I actually want to be doing, or am I doing this because it's someone else's dream for me? Maybe it's my family's dream for me, you know, to have this kind of stable, conventional life. So the moment I realized that...
That's interesting, isn't it? She lives in such a huge and vibrant city, London. She has a full-time job. She just got married. She has her friends there and such a busy life. And still, she just thinks to herself, like, what am I doing in my life? I feel so empty. It's not like she's like living in the countryside all by herself and then thinks about those things. She's extremely busy, recently married in London, and still thinks about those things. That's fascinating, isn't it?
More and more. And came to the point where I was like, well, knowing that I'm unhappy in this life and that I don't want the conventional path, I can no longer turn a blind eye to it.
Yeah.
Either I'll be always aware that this is not the life I want to live, but I'll continue living it because I'm too scared to change it, or I'll change it and live the life that I actually want to live. So I knew that I wanted to have my own business, I wanted to do something creative, and I wanted to feel free. Travel, maybe that's one way to feel free. So I quit everything, left my relationship, which I wasn't happy in, left my job, left my apartment.
When you mean relationship, I guess you mean husband and marriage, right? I mean, did you get a divorce or what?
Called my family and I was like, hey, I'm going traveling for X amount of time. And they're like, you've gone mad? They really thought I had gone mad. And I just decided to...
Indeed, I mean, it is a crazy decision, isn't it? To just completely change your life like that. I mean, in my case, I moved from the biggest city of Turkey, Istanbul, to a tiny village in the countryside. Well, because my mother's health was getting worse, her dream really was to spend her last years in the country, in a house with a garden. And also because I was so depressed that thinking about killing myself and ending my life after being scammed and losing all my money financially and almost dying after a horrible car accident, that I pretty much had nothing to lose and I just wanted to run away from all those things. Little did I know that when you change your city, you don't run away from your problems. I have still ongoing, legal troubles because of being scammed. I'm probably gonna have to still, pay a huge fine next year of legal issues to lawyers and stuff. So those things are a cloud of depression still in the back burner of my head. But I moved to the country. At least now I'm with my mom, trying to take care of her. But I wish I had the guts that she has to really get a van and just travel the world. After my mother is gone, there's nothing that keeps me in a house. But I could never have the courage to do that. I would be so afraid. How am I going to pay for gas? What happens if the car breaks down? I did realize one dream of mine, which was to purchase a very old 2004 model Toyota Land Cruiser, with which I hope someday to do at least some traveling, some off-roading. This was a dream I had back in Colorado 20 years ago, but we'll see how that goes, Maybe I might have to sell that car anyway.
And start traveling and see how it goes. And that's why I'm here today.
Well, why do you think? That sounds compelling.
Laughing.
And when people hear that, even in my own world, I've done that. Like I've detached, in my case, the government, the military, and felt free living my own journey with my own company and stuff. And when I hear that, it's compelling. And when people hear that, it's inspiring. But most people don't do it. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people are tethered?
These days I'm so depressed that I don't want to leave the house, but if Eva asks me, will you come and visit me and we'll travel for 1 week together? If I can find someone to take care of my mother, I would go and travel with her.
This umbilical cord that is the constraints that society has outlined for them, and they're following the stereotypical path, feeling like they're in prison, having midlife crises, maybe even riding the wave to the end, and then regretting everything they've done. Why do you think that is?
Right. Well, I guess, there are people out there who do find happiness in the more conventional path, and that's awesome, that's great. But I think for me, it's about figuring out what it is that you actually want, really and deeply, The most difficult part is just...
Well, she's 30 years now. Do you think that in 5 years, when she's 35, she will have settled down and married with children? What do I think? I think probably, yeah. Yeah, she will have an awesome husband who's really active like her. They're going to have active kids and a beautiful life. Probably somewhere close to nature, and they will do a lot of family holidays, traveling, I guess.
Questions. Because once you start asking yourself the hard questions, you run the risk of realizing that you need to change something. And that's really tough because...
Confrontational. Vulnerable.
Yeah. And you might have a lot to lose. A lot to gain potentially, but a lot to lose, I was lucky in the sense that I was a 20-something-year-old. I had some strings attached, but not too many. I didn't have kids, didn't have like a mortgage or anything. But once you get to that stage, it becomes a lot more complex.
Yeah.
So I think that it's really important to ask yourself those questions as early as possible. In your 20s, before you do all this stuff. And you can still change your life after. It's just, it becomes a little bit more complex.
Yeah.
But I think it's a scary life. Honestly, like freedom has its price.
Freedom has
as much as I love traveling the world and doing my thing and being free, it's horribly unstable. At the end of the day, I'm a freelancer. I'm at the mercy of YouTube views and partnerships. I don't get like a stable paycheck. I don't get a pension from this. I don't know where I'm going to go next. There's no guarantee.
Yeah, it does seem like something you can do when you're young, but as you get older, it's much more difficult. Right now, for example, the only strings attached to me are my mother. As long as she's alive, I will take care of her and stay with her. but after she's gone, and if I could have the financial stability, would I try to do that? Probably not. You know, I would be too tired and lazy, and I would be like, what, 55, 60 years old. I mean, there are people who travel at that age, but I can't see myself doing it.
Thing. And of course it gets lonely as well, because, you know, I'm out there like on the edge of the world doing my thing, and sometimes it's overwhelming. I read shitty comments on YouTube. I can't reach out to my friends.
Who the hell would leave shitty comments to you, Eva? Anybody who leaves shitty comments to her, listen to me. You are responsible. You are responding to me. I will find you and write comments to you as well. Do not write anything bad to Eva.
The weather's horrible, and it's just sometimes I just sit there and cry in my truck because I'm like, I'm supposed to have a perfect life. It looks perfect, but it's not. It's just a life, right? It's so it's not always easy, and it's not picture perfect. It's just a real life.
I appreciate your vulnerability too. I think that's, you know, when you look at, I don't know, I hate saying the word influencers because some people think of that. Oh, Mike's an influencer. I'm like, oh, great.
I hate that word too.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Mike, aren't you that influencer? I'm like, I'm a human being. But your vulnerability.
Why do you guys hate the word influencer? I mean, if you really, I don't know you, Mike, but Eva, I mean, you have worked so hard to create your tribe and people who love you like me, who has just found you a couple of days ago, newly fallen in love with you. So don't be ashamed to take the role of influencer, because influencer, what it means is you influence people's lives. Yes, you are. I mean, of course, I cannot be a van lifer like you, but you do influence me. I admire you, so don't be afraid to use that word. Don't be ashamed of it. You know, own it and be proud of being an influencer. Mike, I don't know you, but as far as I can see for the last 10 minutes, you don't look like much of an influencer for the moment.
This journey for many people, I think, who tune into you, very beautiful and very attractive, and people get inspired by it. You started this, and I was going to ask you, you answered one of the questions, which, were you lonely? And the other question,
it's like they took the branding of the water bottles as if this is a show on ABC or NBC. Only 36,000 people watch it. Why do you take the label of the bottle off? But anyway, she's so beautiful when she's drinking. Let's concentrate on that. And sorry, Sean, or whatever her boyfriend's name is, but you're never around, right? You should come and live with her, you know, because she doesn't deserve to be alone.
Is what scares you, because when you create the perception, and you're very different in many ways because you're not creating an image that's perfect. When you do that and you're super vulnerable, at the end of the day, like, what does scare you? Do you think you're going to be on this journey forever? Do you miss
I personally think that she is perfect, actually.
And what is the end? Like, I mean, I hate to say end. What is the next evolution of this process?
Right. Oh, wow, that's a very loaded set of questions.
Loaded.
To put it simply, in terms of sort of...
Even in the most difficult situations, she smiles. I mean, look at her. She has a tough question and she responds it with a smile. I've seen one video where she had a car trouble. Actually, I think it was in Turkey, in my country. I wish I could see her when she was here. And she was smiling when these guys in Cappadocia who didn't know how to fix her car, I'm so ashamed of being Turkish, they still took, you know, like $1,000 from her or $500 to not be able to fix anything in her transmission, and they even made it worse. Thank God another Turkish guy who's I'm proud of reached out to her, brought her to Ankara, to the main city, and then there the not Land Cruiser, that's my car, Land Rover guys I wish she had bought Land Cruiser instead of Land Rover, because much less problems with the Japanese as opposed to the English Land Rover. Anyway, they managed to fix it over there, so I don't know how much she spent there though, she didn't say. But what was I saying? Yeah, she always stayed positive and she smiled during those things. I mean, this is amazing. I love her for her positive energy. She's not like me at all.
Here I think is something that really drives me in a lot of this. I don't think I'm scared of like the things that you might typically think I would be scared of. Like, I'm not really scared of people. I'm not really scared of like wild animals, you know.
Yeah.
I did have one run-in with a very dangerous cow last year that tried to kill me.
Look at her smile. That cow hit her forehead with her horns. The mean cow. I will be more careful with cows in the nature as well.
Actually, the scariest thing that ever happened to me. Not really scared of like the things that are so, like the cliche things. I think the things I'm scared of, like I'm scared of not being able to manage my fear. I'm scared of, you know, being in such a state of overwhelm, for example, from all the work and all the pressure that I might just like cave in. And I've had that happen a couple of times where, you know, like I just become so stressed out and vulnerable that I just have to take time off because I can't manage and nothing makes.
Well, at least we know that she's also human, that sometimes she's overwhelmed, which is good to know. Like, for example, me right now, I have to go take care of my mom. I'll see ya when I'll see ya.